I'm thinking of one move in particular, probably my most high risk move. It's called a spiral tap dive, but trying to jump over and do a corkscrew with it can be a bit daunting and just be like, right, here we go, whatever happens, happens. Thankfully on that particular show, it come off pretty well. As soon as I woke up, I had to be this character, especially from when you're trying to be an elite athlete. They do not go hand in hand. When I become the ultimate geezer, I've done less drinking and less partying because those are the sacrifices you have to make to get to the top, in my opinion. I was just telling myself from day one, like, I am going to make it, whether people like it or not. No one is going to outwork me. I train so much. I do things that other people aren't willing to do and put the reps in places where other people don't want to, because I want to try and be the best at that I can. I had an opportunity with WWE recently, which I thought went really well. Don't think I could have performed any better. You know, I have got news back from that now isn't the right time. This is definitely my biggest knockback in terms of wrestling to date. In fact, everything has been a bit of a straight line up until now. If I can't make it to the WWE, I'll walk straight back out that door. There's no point in me being here. If I can be that sort of figure to people and redefine the term geezer and everything that is, then redefining that and being a role model to people, that will be the biggest thing that I could achieve.
Where does the character end and the real person begin? What you're about to watch is part of a new series where I step into something I call the Max Moody Lens, a more expressive way of exploring identity, performance, and meaning. Through conversations with professional wrestlers, I'm exploring the space between the character we present and the person behind it. In this episode, I'm joined by the ultimate geezer, Tommy Tanner. We explore where that character comes from, what it represents, and what it reveals about the man underneath. If you found value in this episode, support the mission by subscribing and leaving a review. For this one, I'm Max Moody, and this is the Growth Voyage podcast. Enjoy. Tommy, welcome to the lounge.
Thanks for having me.
What I'd like to know is, who is Tommy Tanner?
That's a broad question. Who is Tommy Tanner? I'd normally answer that by just saying I am the ultimate geezer. It's as simple as that. And if you don't know what a geezer is, it's hard to put your finger on it, because I'd normally tell people it's a feeling that when you see that bloke walk into a room and he just commands a presence, you can't quite put your finger on it. Like I say, that's a geezer right there. And I'd like to think that any room I walk into, people go, "Cool, look at that fella there, bit of a geezer him." And then that's how I got the nickname, the ultimate geezer.
Yeah, I mean, let's dissect this geezer for a second. Is it like an aura? Is it just he just has it? Is it the accent? Like what is the geezer?
I reckon you could say it stems from the accent. Obviously, Cockney geezer is where it probably come from, and you have Essex geezers as well, but anyone can be a geezer. So like you say, I think it is more down to an aura. It's a feeling that you get from someone. It's a presence. And yeah, I try and embody that aura the best I can each and every day.
Are there certain character traits of a geezer, would you say? I mean, if we were to get somebody up, for example, how do they qualify? Is it certain, like, are you a decent bloke, or what is that for you?
The type of geezer that I am, I'd like to think I'm a bit of a cheeky chappy, you know, someone that doesn't take themselves or life too seriously. But then on the other hand, you do have other geezers that they're a bit more hard nuts, you know, they take everything a little bit too seriously. And yeah, that's not really for me. Like I say, I live my life and try and have a laugh everywhere I go. that is what I'd attribute myself to being a geezer. And then other traits, like I say, it's hard to nail it down. You've either got it or you don't. And I think I do, so.
Well, let's dive into this kind of like not taking life too seriously and like kind of what this kind of geezer persona portrays. Because I remember in a former lifetime, I considered myself a bit of a geezer. I kind of like adopted it as an identity almost. And that was kind of what was serving me at that point in my life. For you, is it an identity or is it more of a lifestyle? Is it like who you are, would you say? How much of it is a performance, shall we say?
Interesting. See, there was probably a time where I would attribute it more to being an identity, especially back when I was a little bit younger, in my university days. Like, that was the be all and end all. I had to be a geezer everywhere I went. If I was part of the rugby team then, and whether I was on the pitch, whether I was in the bar afterwards, whether I was at a nightclub or whether I was having breakfast in the morning with the boys, it didn't matter. I had to be. In fact, I told myself that I was the ultimate geezer that time before I was even the ultimate geezer in a wrestling ring, and I had to be that at all times. It was like, as soon as I woke up, I had to be this character, even though it was me. But don't get me wrong, when I went to university, I certainly turned it up a few notches. And then since then, I haven't tried to adopt it in every single facet of my life. But it does creep in from time to time, even when I don't want it to. But, now that I am a professional wrestler, which is what I always dreamed to be, I try and channel the ultimate geezer as much as I possibly can, especially when I'm in the ring, especially when I'm around fans. But yeah.
I'd love to dive into kind of the geezer archetype and when you decide to kind of embody those parts, certain situations you won't. But before then, let's just rewind.
Okay.
Just talk about university, the rugby. This geezer comes out. Was it a defense mechanism, would you say? Was it like, I have to be this geezer, otherwise I'm not part of a tribe? Maybe they'll see the real me underneath it. Or was it more of a, this is just what everyone else does, maybe I'll join it? Or where's the line there?
I think when you're in and around the lads, and especially when I first come in to the rugby team, you want to make an impression with the boys and you want to show them that I'm not just a good rugby player, I can mix it up off the field as well. And me being from London, and that's, I grew up around certain people that I would consider geezers, and my family are from, my dad, technically he is a Cockney because he was born on that side. Yeah, I would, like I say, when I went to university, I really tried to turn it up a few notches. It almost was like it was a performance sometimes, and especially when you feel like you're being judged by older lads and you're trying to make an impression on them. And like I said, not always from a rugby perspective. I was like to myself, I probably didn't say it like, oh, right, I've got to turn it on here. But especially if I'd had a drink as well, like it would just naturally come out even more. And then I would just find myself doing that constantly. And then, for a while, it was basically that 24/7.
Interesting. Well, I think there is a part to it. It is quite a safe place to be sometimes. Like, because it's, I don't know, maybe it's like it's just cool maybe, or at least in my mind, it was cool. So that was my thing at university. It was, again, university. So maybe there's something there with like the drinking scene, and I don't know what it was, but it was like, there is something I found kind of cool with that identity, but it was also quite safe because I found that I didn't have to let people in, or I could like, they wouldn't know like almost like the real me underneath. It's just like, it's just who I am. I love my techno music. You know, I love a bit of football here and there. Like that felt very safe. Did you find you were still able to kind of connect with people on a deeper level with this persona? Obviously, we're talking this time period. Naturally, now it seems like that's developed into potentially more of an open character trait. But about this period here, did you find that you were still able to connect with people, would you say?
I think so. And like a lot of the mates that I made at uni are definitely going to be mates for life. But don't get me wrong, a lot of the time that I do see them, it is probably over a drink. Do you know what I mean? And that's just down to the rugby culture and us getting together and getting older. You know, it's harder to see people when you get older. I definitely still connected with people. Mainly like, so I've had a partner for quite some time. I haven't said openly, but I have all the way through uni and to this day. And I do feel like, yeah, maybe a switch turns off when I'm with my partner as opposed to when I'm out with the lads. And I think that's natural for most lads, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely made some great relationships at university and those people know who I am deep down. Yeah, even though they certainly have seen me at my most turned up as well, do you know what I mean? When I am the ultimate geezer, they know better than anyone who the ultimate geezer is, I think.
So I wondered then, I mean, there's certain elements to this, and I can imagine how, yeah, you know, with your partner, there's going to be, you know, a safe space where kind of the armor kind of comes off a bit, like the geezer armor, and it's like, right, this is our space. But I'm going to kind of dive into, yeah, this idea of, obviously, yeah, you have your mates who are kind of like drinking and, you know, having a good time. And that seems to me like a big part of the geezer identity. Is there a bit of a conflict of interest, would you say, with the kind of like athleticism you embody, your wrestling career, the trajectory that you're on with this pub culture, drinking culture? Is there a clash of values? Are they aligned with where you're going?
I think that's absolutely right and a very valid question, because I think I've told people on multiple occasions now, when I became the ultimate geezer in the wrestling ring, the drinking certainly got toned down a lot, which, like I said, for a long period of time, that's what I'd done. Like, you know, like anyone, I'd go to work and then I'd be, you know, waiting for the Friday to roll around, and then I'd be out with the boys on Friday, maybe Saturday as well. You know, and I loved it, and it was a great laugh. But from a health perspective, and especially from when you're trying to be an elite athlete, they do not go hand in hand. And I said to people multiple times, when I become the ultimate geezer, I've done less drinking and less partying than I have for a very, very long time, because those are the sacrifices you have to make to get to the top, in my opinion. And even this year, like, so we're in 2026 now, I didn't have my first drink until 3 weeks ago, because I was so locked in around being able to perform at my best, train at my best, and be in the best shape of my life for the opportunities that were coming up. So I'd say it would be very difficult to do both. I know back in the day, wrestlers used to do it just fine. But nowadays, and especially me, I'd find it tough. Especially, some people can work through the hangover. That's not me. I like to feel fresh. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, you and me both, brother. I mean, that was, yeah, you know, I think that kind of drinking for me died with my geezer persona. It was like when I was done with the geezer, the drinking kind of left as well. So my question to you is, if you're not drinking so much, if you're not partying so much, are you still the ultimate geezer?
Getting deep now, right? I definitely think that if something else had led me in my life to stop drinking so much and stop going out so much, partying and whatever else with my pals, it probably would have been difficult to maintain that character that I put on. But obviously now that this is my lifestyle, and when I go out of the house, or especially when I go to a venue to wrestle or even training, I suppose, it's got to be on. So although back in the day I might have had to not switch on, but I was the ultimate geezer around people 24/7, especially when you're at university and you wake up with your mates and whatever else. But nowadays, I do have to be that person all the time as well. So if anything, the amount of time that I embody this character or just turn myself up is a similar amount of time really to what it would have been back in the day. So I don't find it difficult. It might have been harder to channel it initially when I wasn't going out drinking, and especially when you've been in like elite sport a lot of your life. When I first come into wrestling, I looked at it as sport. So then having that performative aspect, I found it a lot more difficult to bring out. But then when I found the character that I wanted to be and realized that it was a character that was just me turned up a few notches, which some of the best say that is the best type of character to have, it seemed a lot easier to just think about what I would do on a night out or when I was on the rugby pitch or when I was with the boys, and then just do that in the ring.
Well, there's something about this like on and off switch and being able to tap into that archetype on demand. It's something I've explored myself competing in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, I mean, you know me, we're on the lounge. It's quite a relaxed feel to it. When I go out onto the mats, I'm not necessarily that guy anymore. I might still be moody, but in a different sense. Yeah, and so what I have come to realize is that I kind of need to tap into that fighter archetype, that warrior archetype of me. And then that way I'm, switched on, shall we say. So it's good to kind of hear how you're able to do that. So you don't need to embody this party lifestyle per se. You don't necessarily need to stay attuned with it. You can still incorporate aspects of that personality, and that way the geezer identity is not threatened.
Well, listen, like you say, not even in the wrestling ring. Like, I'm just thinking of people off the top of my head now. Like, I can't remember his name, but there was an American football player, and he would have, like, to be his best on game day, he would have to channel another character. Is something Dawkins, and he had another locker next to his called Weapon X, and they would keep his Dawkins one empty, and Weapon X was full of different stuff because he knew on game day he had to change into that person. Same as Kobe, they would call him the Black Mamba. You know what I mean? These professional sportsmen, which wrestling is a sport, let's not, it 100% is. You have to channel a certain person, character at points in your life or whatever challenge you come into to get the absolute best out of yourself. And in this particular situation, for me, to get the best character that people love and people can relate to, it is the ultimate geezer. And yeah, I think there's something interesting in that in any walk of life, you sometimes maybe have to be someone else to get the best result out of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, well, let's expand on that. So you said you have to be somebody else sometimes to get the best out of what you want to do. Because what I've wanted to explore is, again, being able to tap into that, for training wise as well. So if you're training and you're performing, they usually say you've got to perform in training as you would in a match. Mm. I can only speak from personal experience. I feed off the energy of the crowd myself. Mm-hmm. Do you find you're still able to access that in training, or do you actually find that during those matches you're able to tap into it because you're performing as the ultimate geezer? shall we say, because there is a little bit of a separation there. You're able to bring the best out of yourself character-wise, would you say?
I think so. And like you say, I'm the same. In training, I'd find it very difficult to be the ultimate geezer. I can 100% bring intensity to what I'm doing like I would in the gym. So for wrestling training, I would, if we're doing drills or whatever, I'm going to be as intense as possible. And I'm going to work back to when I was a gymnast or when I was a rugby player, work my best and keep my nut down and do the best I can at that time. But being the character, I would find it a lot harder. Like you say, I feel like feeding off the crowd is something that the ultimate geezer does. Back from when I was young, I'd always known that in competitive environments with people watching, I could pull something out of myself, which I just couldn't do anywhere else. Now we're jumping back a little bit, but even when I was a gymnast, and this necessarily isn't about character, but there was moves that I did not fancy doing in training. And I was just like, I'm not doing this because I didn't want to get hurt, or maybe I might have been a bit of a wuss back then. I don't know. But I didn't fancy it. And then it would roll around to the day of the competition and I would pull out 3 moves that I'd never even done before because there was a crowd there and I just knew I could pull something out that was inside of me, because I always knew it was there, but I was like, you know what, I didn't say it to myself, but I was like, now that the time has come, we're going to do it. And now I take that, I suppose, into wrestling, because the best times that I've remembered ever being in the ring, the best matches I've ever had, I've always been in front of the absolute hottest crowds. And that's when I have the most fun. That's when I can be myself or turn up the ultimate geezer, but he is me. So it's just, I can just leave everything out there and pull everything out of myself that I need to when the crowd is there, the lights are on and it's time to go. You know what I mean?
100%. Well, it does beg the question, because as you were saying, the hotter the crowd, the hotter the ultimate geezer.
There you go.
But then I suppose it's also part of your role in those moments to get the crowd on your side. You've kind of got to play your role in that as well. So do you find that you're able to, again, flick on that switch when the crowd perhaps do need a little bit of warming up, per se? Are you able to feed off your own sauce, shall we say?
I don't find it hard to turn it on and try my best, even if there was maybe not as many people or the crowd's not so hot. I'm still going to give it 100% and do what I can do, but everything else just feels more natural and falls into place. And that it's not necessarily when the crowd is at their hottest. I know that I said it's easier, but it's more when it's time to compete and it's time to show people. That's when I'm able to pull it out the most. When the pressure's on, that is a big thing for me. And like I said, going back to the gymnastics, even in rugby, when the pressure's on, that is when I always have seemed to perform at my best throughout my whole life.
That's an interesting point. And the whole thing about like doing these very athletic moves, sometimes the first time on a show, there's something about that there. Because I mean, I certainly think when you see people doing moonsaults and stuff, I'm like, okay, maybe they practice, by doing one of those backflips into like a pen or something like that with lots of cushion and stuff. But I'm like, at one point there's going to be a first ever moonsault on a person.
Yeah.
And so taking that jump, it sounds like when the pressure is on, you've got no choice but to make it work. Whereas maybe in training or whatever it may be, there's a lot of maybe fear per se, or there's some blocks in our head which kind of stop us from doing the thing that we want to do or from taking risks. Is that quite accurate, would you say?
I think that's absolutely spot on. Like, I'm thinking of one move in particular that I do, which is probably my most high risk move. It's called a spiral tap dive. And, you know, AJ Styles used to do it off the top rope onto his opponents. I decide to run the ropes back and forth, jump over the top rope, and then hit the spiral tap. And hopefully the person's going to be there when I hit it to the outside. But yeah, certainly when I was training for the move, I trained at a great facility that had, you know, plenty of protection. So it was hard to be too worried about it, even though you say to yourself, oh, you know what, it's still, you know, it can be scary to do these sort of maneuvers. But I still done it, and at the training facility, but there was so many mats that no matter what happened, nothing could go wrong. But trust me, when it come down to hitting it my first time on a show, especially when you don't know what's going to come that day, and the first show that I done it on was a progress show. The second time I done it was on a progress show, in fact, but the ring is higher, the ropes are higher, then you start saying to yourself on the week lead up, you're like, God, you know, I don't fancy doing this today. And then when you get there and the ring is higher and there's wood floor and the ropes are even higher, like, oh my, am I going to be able to clear this and do a full twist when I'm doing it? You know, normally jumping over and doing a tope is absolutely fine. But trying to jump over and do a corkscrew with it, it can be a bit daunting. But like you say, when the lights are on and it's time and you know, and you see the opportunity and you think to yourself, right, here we go. You just got to, you got to nut up and just be like, right, here we go. Whatever happens, happens. And thankfully on that particular show, it come off pretty well. So,
well, there's something I think very powerful about that. And that is, from my lens, just listening to that, is that the ultimate geezer really enables you to fulfill your full potential. Because that platform, that stage allows you to try things, otherwise you wouldn't be able to. So I wonder just how much of an impact that has had on just your actualization of what you believe is possible for yourself. Because for me, my biggest driving force is to fulfill my potential. Like, that is the biggest thing for me. Achievement, that for me isn't in order to achieve an emotional state like happiness. For me, achievement's just like, because I want to achieve and I want to conquer and I want to see just how far I can push myself. Sounds to me like the ultimate geezer is far more than a persona and more of a channel for you to go on and do that. Would you say that's quite accurate?
It makes a lot of sense. Like, in fact, when I've turned it on, especially in my adult life, because less so when I was a gymnast and when I was a kid growing up, but certainly as a rugby player throughout university, it seemed to serve me very, very well. You know, I ended up being the president of the rugby club, probably without even trying, because people just liked this character so much and liked me and what I brought to the team, that got me to that position. And ever since, when I first started training to become a wrestler, I didn't know that was the character I was going to be. That was what I was going to channel. The gimmick, as some people might say. Obviously, it's not a gimmick to me. But yeah, ever since the first time I started doing this, and it is the first character I've ever tried, and it's the only character hopefully I'll ever need to try, but it has just skyrocketed me up the scene so quick, and given me so many opportunities so fast, that there clearly is something to it, that being able to channel that has allowed me to progress quicker than it seems a lot of people ever could, and hopefully will continue to do so.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, you know, when I kind of left the UK for a bit, did a bit soul searching for a year or so, I came back and it was like, wow,
yeah.
Mr. Tanner's just gone on a fucking, he's just, yeah.
That's it. That's what it is. I felt like I'd gone on a tear. Like, initially, I don't even think, I've only done a few shows at that point, just before you went off. And yeah, certainly when you come back, I remember it was the first Emporium show. I do feel like a different person. And that has spiraled into other areas of my life, you know? And like other times where not that I ever had like a problem with confidence, but now I'm very able to walk into any room, have a conversation with any person at any given time and be completely comfortable, be myself. Not that it was necessarily an issue before, but I've noticed a significant increase in being able to converse with these people and, you know, being like likable to them people. And never, again, I didn't have a problem with that before, but now it's so noticeable that people sort of gravitate towards the character and they like it. And that's so in the ring and outside the ring, wherever I go.
Well, that was the word you took out my mouth. But what a lovely word, gravitate.
There you go.
Do you know what my other favourite word is?
But
Unlock.
unlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just one day, that came out and I was just like reflecting on that word.
Yeah.
It's just like unlock your potential. You know, there's something just very nice about it. But I mean, talking about unlocking potential, people gravitating towards you. I mean, I can only say, if I may, from my own side, certainly a shift in your energy and the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
So it does beg the question in terms of like confidence. I think a lot of men want confidence, really. I think is one of the main things that men really want, confidence in themselves. So do you think it's your improvement in wrestling ability that has given you that? Or do you think it's being able to channel into this archetype, this ultimate geezer we've discussed? Or has it just been the fact that you've turned up for yourself so many times and done the reps that you've proven to yourself internally that you can do hard things over and over again? Is it a combination of all three, do you think?
I think there's definitely a combo there. From a wrestling perspective, it's certainly reps, it's hard work. All the time and effort that I've put into it makes me now think to myself, you know, no one can tell me anything. You know, I've put in the work, and when I get in the ring, I feel like now I can mix it up with the best of them. And if you would have said that to me a couple of years ago, I remember when I watched my first main event independent match, because I'd never really watched the indies. I was a big WWE fan, a TNA fan, and I remember saying to a fella that took us to that show, I was like, these guys are so good. How am I going to get to that? And he went, mate, you'll be there in a couple of years' time. And less than a year later, I made my debut for Progress, which was a triple threat. And Leo Rush, who's obviously wrestles for AEW now, previously WWE, he was in that match. And like, at a time where I thought it might have been unattainable to even get to that level of wrestling, because I started a little bit older, I've done it in less than a year, and it's still been my best match to date. And even Leo has said some really complimentary things to me afterwards. So from that perspective, it is, you know, turning up every day, putting the work in and knowing how good you are, because you've put that work in. The other part was from an outside perspective, obviously what I do in the ring, and then also being in front of people, like this is it, being in front of a crowd often, which is something that used to make me really nervous, as it would be naturally for people to make them nervous going in front of a crowd for the first time. I'd done a bit of acting and drama at school, so I'd done it before. But don't get me wrong, when I went out and done my first wrestling match, I was pretty nervous. And now it's just like second nature. I feed off it. As soon as I walk out the curtain, I'm ready to go. And even beforehand, I'm not too nervous. And then that spills into your life, you know, being able to deal with any situation that's uncomfortable for you. And we spoke a little bit before the cameras come on about that. I started an improv class at one point when I really wanted to bring something out of myself and challenge myself in front of people that I didn't know. And putting yourself, you hear it time and time again, in these uncomfortable situations over and over again is what allows you to grow, and then allows you to feel more comfortable in any situation you do decide to put yourself into.
Powerful,
That's the stuff
brother.
You like.
You've mentioned quite a lot there to really sit on, and you know you hear it all the time. It's like chase the discomfort, shall we say. But it is as simple as that. And I think sometimes I think because we're seeing the end result, as you were alluding to, oh, how will I get to that level? That looks so far away. But again, it just starts with a single step. And sometimes it seems like you need someone to just tell you, just like, yeah, like, you're cool. Just do the reps. I want to touch upon this though, because I think a lot of wrestlers, when I kind of observe this, they do kind of struggle sometimes with nerves a lot of the time, bit of like emotional regulation perhaps. And yeah, they kind of do struggle with that confidence, maybe tapping into that energy. Was there an exact moment for you where it shifted? Like you felt like, yeah, like I'll go out there, I'll have a match. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And there's no kind of like noise in your head. Are there still times where there's an element of that? Like, can you pinpoint an exact time where you're like, yeah, like I feel this, I get this, I belong here?
I think there might not be a single match, but it is just, and what I found in anything you do in life is it's just compounding the hard work, the training, and then when you get on shows and you get nervous initially, it's just doing that so many times and working through the discomfort that there comes a time when you're so confident in your abilities to go out and perform and be that person that eventually it will fade away. And obviously you'll always be a little bit nervous before you go through the curtain. And if you're not nervous, you know the score, it means you don't care. So if people can just go out and not feel anything before they come out the curtain and they start to think to themselves, oh God, another day, that's probably when you should hang the boots up, because what's the point in doing it anymore if you don't care? So I still get them butterflies, but I'm so confident now that I've done so many reps that whatever happens, if I go out and perform to the best of my abilities, I know it's going to be a good match. And listen, people make mistakes, things happen in matches, and you just got to deal with them. So it's never going to be perfect every time. But all you can control is how hard you work beforehand, and then that should spill out into the ring when you get in there.
Yeah, well, let's touch upon this resilience aspect, right? Because again, it's never going to be a straight line, right? And we talked about this before, right? You're aware like the journey is, you start here at the bottom and then you see, right, that's where I want to get to. And it's like, right here, right, okay, just keep turning up and you will get there. But it's not quite a straight line. It's up and down, setbacks. I want to touch upon resilience and your sense of self-belief. And, I've always known you to have great self-belief. I mean, I remember back when we were working AEW as an extra, right? We turned up, and that was actually just coming out of my geezer era myself. So there was like maybe a little bit of it left. But back then, I remember, there was a bit of a talk about like an after party with the wrestlers or something. And so I kind of floated the idea as like, oh, I hear this is happening. Should we entertain this, or is this, it's not really, it might not be our place to, but it's out there. And I just remember you, as cool as you like, were like, man, I know I'm going to be there in a couple of years anyway, so I'm not too bothered. And, I always knew that you kind of had the right mindset to make it and to continue making progress. So how have you kind of cultivated that, kind of knowing or seeing the bigger picture? Because I imagine you've got to there's so many different factors at play to cultivate that, but then also stemming on from that, the resilience piece as well, getting back up after matches that didn't go to plan, especially having such high expectations as you do.
It's a tough one, having that self-belief off the bat is I think the hardest thing to cultivate for anyone. And I think a lot of people probably when they start, they don't want to tell people their aspirations. They don't want to say, oh, I want to be the best at this, because they just want to see how good they are. But I remember walking into Greg's gym on day one, and I actually used this in a promo recently for the biggest opportunity to date. But I said to Greg, I sat down before anyone else had even turned up. He'd only met me one time before this. And I said, listen, mate, if I can't make it to the WWE, I'll walk straight back out that door. Like, there's no point in me being here. And he probably thought I was a lunatic, do you know what I mean? But then after the first session, obviously he found out about my gymnastics skills and how hard I work in the gym and whatever. And he was like, no, if you want to do this, you can do this. And I don't know if he would have thought I could have done it this quickly, but he'd certainly instilled a lot of confidence in me that I could do it. And then it was just telling myself from day one, like, I am going to make it, whether people like it or not. And I think that, again, it stems back to the hard work. No one is going to outwork me, I don't think. You know, I train so much. I do things that other people aren't willing to do. And put the reps in places where other people don't want to because they don't like making themselves uncomfortable. Like the amount of promo practice and stuff that I do nowadays is just like obscene because I want to try and be the best at that I can. And you're never going to achieve the heights that you want to achieve for me going to the WWE. I don't want to just go to the WWE. I want to be the first English world champion there ever was there. Hopefully that door is still open when the time comes and someone else hasn't taken it because there's some great talent in there at the minute. But that's what I want. That's the goal that I've told myself that I'm going to achieve. And again, if you tell yourself that you're going to achieve that and I even just get to the WWE or a major company, I would have done myself a great service in itself anyway and got to a place where other people might not have been able to get to had they just said, you know, I'm just turning up for a little bit of fun. Because then I think you're selling yourself short. If you go as hard as you can and try and achieve the most you can, you're usually going to achieve something quite special anyway.
Well, there's that sense of like delusion I think that you need. I think you need that in whatever endeavor that you're exploring. Voice crack. Exploring. Whatever endeavor you're exploring. But then also, you mentioned there the hard work too. And I think for a lot of guys who are kind of stuck in their heads and like overthinking a lot, and I say that as someone who spends a lot of time in his head, I think sometimes if you've got a really big dream, I think you just got to do loads and loads and loads of reps. And I think if let's say the pro wrestler example, right, there is always going to be something that you're going to have to do towards that, whether it's promo, whether it's the gym, whether it's getting your gear sorted, whether it's social media, whatever, there's always going to be something. And so if your aim is to pursue that path, then the only option you have is to work towards it. And I think a lot of the time we can get stuck in like the fear, the doubt. Oh, is this for me? Is this really for me? Oh, what about this? Oh, this is uncomfortable. Whereas if we're so busy doing something, we don't really then have time to be feeding into a lot of this stuff because we're so busy just like doing the thing. And it sounds like, yeah, that kind of alludes to your journey a bit as well. You're just so busy almost becoming the ultimate geezer that path's just inevitable. You don't have time to waste or ruminate or doubt yourself.
Yeah. And that's another thing you said there about all them subcategories of being a wrestler specifically. I know that if I am to achieve those dreams that I have, I need to max out every single thing along the way. You can't be average at something, or a lot of people I think will just try to get by on in-ring skill, or maybe just try and get by on their promos if that's what they're good at. You know, my in-ring is probably my best because of the athleticism that I have, but I've worked, endlessly at promos now as well, putting myself in uncomfortable situations like classes I didn't want to go to just to try and get better at that. Gear is another thing. Social media, all of this stuff I've invested a lot in, and then that's why I've been able to see the return so quickly. And you need to max out every category if you want to be a superstar in this business, I think. And I'm not saying I'm a superstar yet, but I'm doing everything I possibly can be to achieve that sort of status.
Oh, there's something about just going all in on something, right? And just actually fully committing to it. And I wonder if there's a tendency for men to, almost not go all in because there's kind of like a fear there. Like fear if it doesn't work out. And I think if you're going towards your dream and you're putting everything in it and you literally can't give any more, then you can't really have any complaints. I mean, if you're going after your passion, then like what regrets are you gonna have?
That's what I mean. You've done yourself proud if you said to yourself, well, I've given it 100%. Do you know what I mean? And I think the only people that are going to be upset are the people that 5, 10, however many years from now look back and think to themselves, oh, do you know what? If I would have just done that, or if I would have just tried a little bit harder, trained a little bit more, gone to the gym, practiced my promos, where could I have got to? And from the day that I stepped foot in Greg's gym and that same week hung up the rugby boots, because I knew this is all I wanted to do. I was like, I need to endlessly commit myself to this goal if this is what I want, if this is what I want to do with my life and how far I want to go with it. And I took out everything else from that and solely focused on wrestling and everything around it. And yeah, the results have seemed to come relatively quickly. So, and I think that's the only way to do it. And I understand people have other things going on in their lives which they have to foster and they have to look after and they have to fulfill. But I've made it so that thankfully I haven't got to worry about too much else. And I've got such good people around me, like my missus, my parents as well, couldn't have been more supportive. All my pals that have allowed me to go all in on this. And, you know, they'll see the reward one day soon as well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they will, brother.
Yeah.
But again, you've mentioned something there. It's just having that support network around you, having people who believe in you as much as, or if not more, than you believe in yourself. Like that's massive. It's
like a superpower, honestly. We were talking about delusion earlier on, and something that rang in my mind was the only person that's more delusional than me, I think, is my dad. You know, he's telling me, I'm not going to name names, but you'll see a wrestler on TV, he's like, you're better than him. You're going to go further than him. And I'm like, do you realise how good this guy is? But he is so, obviously I'm his son, you know, and like he has this idea of my potential, and so do I. But he is even more so than me and has always pushed me to do as much as I possibly can, will support me in any endeavour that I choose to do in life, and especially wrestling. Since I've thrust myself into this, couldn't ask for anyone to be more supportive. So yeah, no, he's been great. As have all my missus and my mum as well. You know, all these people around you, like I say, it really is a superpower that push you on to want to do better and support you and turn up for you time and time again. You know, I've got friends in the industry that maybe their parents or their significant other haven't come to see them in a match, and they've been doing it for a long time. I have to tell my dad sometimes actively not to come to matches, because I'm like, you don't need to travel this far up the country just to come watch me, you know? So yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, isn't it? And as you were saying, a lot of people don't necessarily have that support network. So again, it begs the question. It's like, you have that support network and you're willing to go all in on your dream, then yeah, I think you can create really, really special stuff.
Yeah. There's definitely a massive combination of factors that have all gone in my favor since I've started this, that have allowed me to ascend so quickly. We'll continue to do so.
Yeah. Well, I can see where kind of a lot of your mindset has kind of developed from as well. I think a lot of that growth mindset, sometimes we have to kind of work a bit to get there and kind of expand our mind. It sounds to me like you might have always had that. Am I right in thinking that? Was that something that was installed in you from a young age, you reckon?
Definitely. Like I say, from young, my parents had been so supportive. When I was a gymnast, when I was a rugby player, you know, they would go out of their way to make these things happen. And sometimes, you know, although I did have that mindset, there were days where they said to me, you need to sort yourself out and we need to go now because this is what you're about. You know, like there was days I didn't want to go to training. There was days I didn't want to do this. But they said, if you want to be the best, this is what you have to do. And then thankfully later in life, I now know that so deep within myself that they don't need to tell me to do anything, because it is so ingrained in me that if you want to achieve something, you've got to go and put in the work. And although I might have been forced when I was younger, it certainly has served me well now. So, yeah. And as well, you said about the resilience before. And like, that's another thing they've taught me. Like, you know, if you get a knockback or you don't get what you put in, you don't get out what you put in sometimes, because it does happen. You know, some people can be better than you on the day. You never know. But it is a case of them saying to me, listen, you don't cry about it. You pick yourself up and you go again, you work harder so that next time that doesn't happen. And that's, again, been countless throughout my life. When I was a gymnast, rugby player, if you take a loss, you know, it hurts in the moment, but ultimately, you know, maybe you didn't do enough before, but if you work your socks off after that to make sure it doesn't happen again, then usually that will be the case.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like learning the lessons, I suppose. Yeah. And I think there's so many elements to that as well. I think it's just kind of like a mindset thing. After so long, you're kind of like, okay, this sucks, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it's almost like a non-negotiable. It's like, okay, whatever. And then when you get so used to doing something while it sucks, just becomes your norm, and then that builds up so much over time. But it's difficult to understand that before you like really start embracing that lifestyle. Yeah.
No, I feel that. Like, there's been, you know, again, listen to all these sportsmen and all their quotes, but like Mike Tyson was another one. I think he said you have to do the training you hate, but do it like you love it. And you know, there's certainly been times where you take a loss and your head goes down, or something happens that throws you off, or you don't fancy even training that day, but that is when you need to do it and tell yourself, right, now's time to lock in, now's time to go. And then that is when you really see big achievements and big progression in anything you do.
Yeah, big time, brother. What is next for Tommy Tanner, the ultimate geezer? And stemming on from that, where are you choosing to embody more of the ultimate geezer in your life? And what I mean by that is, it sounds like, you know, you've built up the confidence, the self-belief by channeling into this archetype. You've mentioned before, sometimes it comes out when it doesn't need to. So I guess what I'm really fascinated in here is, the kind of integration of this character. Where does this kind of lead you now? Like, who are you aspiring to show up as daily in your kind of everyday life? And then how does that link with the wrestling as well?
You know, as we've discussed on this, it seems to have served me pretty well. So trying to embody the character as much as possible throughout everyday life, through any new endeavor that I try to take on. Obviously, it's going to happen in the wrestling, but other opportunities have arisen because of the character that I am on Instagram. And when I'm in the ring, I done an advert for Tony's Chocolate recently, and then ended up doing like a live activation PR stunt for them in King's Cross, which it was awesome. But I never expected that, to have that sort of opportunity for them to ring me up and be like, we've seen what you do online, we love this character, you know. So then that opened a new door for me, like maybe I could go into acting, or Advertisements was the first thing, and then off the back of that I have been offered some roles in like short films and stuff like that. And so that could be another avenue that again, my dad, he was already exploring beforehand, but it's not something that I wanted to do. I'm so focused and head down on the wrestling. But if other opportunities do arise because of that, then obviously I'm going to take them with both hands and try and fill out as much, because as we know, wrestling goes hand in hand with acting. You know, some of the biggest actors in the world have started off as wrestlers. So So if I can continue to do that and unlock new opportunities in different fields, then I'm definitely going to do that. And then from a wrestling perspective, like everyone's goal is, I'm sure at our level, or should be, is to get signed by one of the major companies. And obviously I had an opportunity with WWE recently, which I thought went really well. Don't think I could have performed any better. You know, I have got news back from that now isn't the right time. But again, listen, this is my first proper knockback from wrestling, and I'm not ashamed to say it because, like I said, I thought I couldn't have done any better. And from what I heard from the coaches on the day, I couldn't have performed at a higher standard. But then when I got the call, they said it's not the right time. And listen, that happens on television shows. They got a cast for certain people and they can't have many, I don't know, similar people in a role. And that's absolutely fine. I'll keep chipping away. I'll keep grafting. If another opportunity comes that's not WWE, I'll take that with both hands. But yeah, I'm still going to be working hard, and I will reach one of these major promotions and will be signed. I guarantee by before 30, because I'm 28 now. That was always my goal coming into this when I started training at 26. And I'm well on course to do that. So that's it from a wrestling perspective. And then if other opportunities arrive in different fields, then I'll grab them with both hands too.
Yeah, I mean, that what you just said there, I mean, that, again, I love the whole mindset, and it's kind of detaching yourself from that. It's seeing the bigger picture, and it's like, right, okay, now's not the right time, cool. I'll continue doing my thing. I'm on my path, I'm on my mission. I'm going to make it happen anyway. And there's something about that. And I think, you know, we're talking about, you know, what's next for the Ultimate Geezer. For me, this is actually quite an integral part of that journey, right? We've discussed this where, you know, again, it's never a straight line. You've got to go through, I think, more hardship and, yeah, go through these perhaps setbacks, tougher times to then, yeah, bounce back stronger and really have a more fulfilled life at the end of it. Like that for me is the journey.
Yeah.
And that for me adds another kind of string to the Ultimate Geezer's bow. It's like, you knock me down, I'll come straight back up.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think we've spoken throughout the podcast that being able to fail and being uncomfortable is what allows you to grow, what allows you to progress. And this is definitely my biggest knockback in terms of wrestling to date. In fact, everything has been a bit of a straight line up until now. But, you know, I'm going to use it as fuel, and it's only going to make me better in the end. And I'll make them think, oh, what? We should have picked him up then. But, you know, it's all good. Like I say, I'm just going to get back, put my nut down, work harder than I ever have before, and it will come. It will come in time. So, yeah, I'm not obviously initially gutted about it, but, you know, we go again.
Yeah, that's it, brother. There was another question I was going to touch upon as well.
Yeah.
You are quite literally becoming the Ultimate Geezer. Like, you are the Ultimate Geezer.
I am.
Is there any separation now between the man behind the performance, perhaps? Or is this just something, is this the life you really want to embody? Is this actually who you are destined to become? Right, if we talk about like manifestation, right, and becoming that dream life, is this just who you are? Is this who you're aspiring to be? Or is there going to be a deeper part of you think that, yeah, is always gonna be there?
It's funny, just thinking about it now, like, the Ultimate Geezer probably, he used to mean something different to me back in the day. But now that has switched, that has changed since I've started wrestling. So trying to be the best Ultimate Geezer that I can be is different from when I was at university, when I was drinking, when I was partying. Now it's about being the best I can in the ring, the best ambassador I can be outside of the ring, in every single facet that I can be. The character has served me well, and I'll continue to do that. And I think his values now, again, might have been different to what they were when he was at university. So if I can max them out and really go all in on that, then, like I say, it will serve me really well. And I think he's a good person. I try and be a role model, you know, to obviously young kids that come to the shows. And, you know, I get some really good feedback from people, like really lovely messages and that. And I think to myself, they might not have liked the Ultimate Geezer back then, or he wasn't a role model. But now this is someone to respect and hopefully want to be like. So if I can really push in on that and try and max it out to the best I can, then why wouldn't I want it to be me as much as possible? When back then there might have been a line that I would have liked to draw. And especially when I started wrestling, I was like, right, I'm going to be this person here. I'm going to be this person here. If I can continue to be this version of the Ultimate Geezer in every single thing I do, I think it's only going to be positive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even that, I think the separation is where I think a lot of men struggle sometimes, because they're wearing so many different masks in front of so many different people.
Yeah.
They can't keep up. And so it's not only in terms of the impact you want to have on the world, but also for your own internal piece too.
Yeah.
And I see kind of like a bigger mission in all of this. I think your mission is to redefine what the word geezer means. So, you know, if someone says, oh, he's a geezer. Or he's a geezer. Like, oh, wait, because of Tommy Tanner. So, he is such a geezer, that man. And you, I think, are redefining what the word geezer means.
That's a lovely way to think about it, and I hope that I can continue to do so, because yeah, there certainly is negative connotations with the word, and back in the day I might have fed into those negative connotations, whereas now, from what I can tell, it only brings at this moment in time positivity and joy to people's lives. So if I can hone in on that, then, and it obviously serves me well, then hopefully other people can aspire to want to do that, even if that's young kids, and you know, that will benefit them moving forward.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
I have to ask. Talked about, you know, you turning up, the athleticism, a healthy lifestyle. Is there a part of you that is perhaps offering teenagers, the younger generation, a different outlet perhaps? Are you potentially saying, hey, you don't need to necessarily follow the party? Is there something there? Maybe you're inviting them to explore their passion, to be a good human being, to maybe pursue another route. Is there something there?
I would say absolutely. But what I would also say is I would not negate people doing that. I'm certainly not going to discourage people from doing that, from drinking, from partying. I think you need to have as much fun, or I suppose the saying used to go, work hard, play hard. Right now, I'm all about working hard. But there's been some times I said to you over the past couple of weeks since my WWE tryout where I've had my best mate stag do. I've had Arsenal in the Champions League final. I've had a wedding last weekend where I've let my hair down. You know, I've gone out and I've had a drink and I've had a great time. So I'm not going to discourage young people from going out, and I'm not saying drinking has to be your passion, but whatever you want to do and that brings you joy, you go and do that. But then 100% you should work hard. You should look after yourself, go to the gym, be a good person, try and be a role model to others, do everything you can to bring positivity to other people's lives. Like someone recently, you seen Jim Skin on Instagram? The guy is like the most positive figure that back in the day, some people might have thought, oh, this bloke, like, he's too much of a geezer, or like, you know, but he's shown people you can have traits of being like an alpha male, I suppose, like, you know, a big lad that goes to the gym and looks after himself and might look a little bit, you know, too Essex or something. But all he does is try and bring positivity to people, and is a good role model to children and kids, young teenagers. They love him as well. Do you know what I mean? So if I can be that sort of figure to people and redefine the term geezer and everything that is, then that would have been, achieving that sort of thing would have been more than I ever could have asked for when I first started wrestling and wanting to be a WWE superstar, wanting to be WWE champion. Redefining that and being a role model to people, that will be the biggest thing that I could achieve. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that would be a new mission for me, in fact.
I was just going to say, that seems to me like, that is like the biggest mission out there. Like I think that just gives so much meaning to your journey, to your character. I think, wow, that's really cool. And I think there is something about that as well, because I certainly found when I myself was detaching from the geezer lifestyle, I had to make quite a swift shift to the way I lived my life, but that's because I was using the geezer persona as something other than me. There wasn't any, it was like almost like a safety zone.
Yeah.
So I think from my side, what I found was that every time I did kind of go back into elements of the geezer lifestyle, I'd feel a sense of almost like guilt, or like, oh, maybe I've gone back into the old me, or maybe I've done this. Whereas it sounds to me like you've actually got quite a healthy attitude to it. It's like, right, it's not a priority anymore, but I'm able to kind of go back into this a little bit, maybe, you know, for a brief stint of time, maybe it's a couple of weeks or so, I let my hair down, then we go again. Would you say that's quite
I say so.
Accurate approach?
There is times that, you know, I actually, this before the stag do specifically, where I was a bit like, oh, you know, this could be interesting, like going back into full throttle, because I know what I'm like, you know, I like I say, I love to have a laugh and love to go out and have a party in that, and that can be dangerous sometimes, you know, but yeah, when you have this confidence in yourself and awareness as well, like it is a lot easier to because I think actually, yeah, this is gonna come back round now to, like, maybe I did drink so much and turn the character on so heavily to not impress people, but, you know, to rise to the occasion and make sure that I was accepted and loved by the lads in the rugby team, for example. Whereas now I'm like, I'm so confident in who that person is, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, but it's very rare that people don't take to me. But because I'm so confident, I don't need a party or a drink to be that person. I just am. And that is the best gift that wrestling, I think, could have given me. I could confidently go out now and, you know, not have to have a beer to, like, turn it on, or if there was a new environment or new people, and think to myself, oh, here we go, let's just have a couple of drinks to get through this. Now I'm just like, yeah, sweet. No matter where I go, who I meet, it's going to be sweet. So.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, again, it ties back to the whole confidence thing we were discussing before. The ultimate geezer has quite literally transformed your life in a way. Yeah. And it's very, very interesting observing all that, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate you giving a bit of an insight into.
Right, mate. No, I appreciate it. You've unlocked some stuff in me today. I think like that new mission, that is some really powerful stuff, and something that, you know, I'll write down when I get back, and that will be a new goal for me when people ask me what I want to do. And before it was so set on, you know, tangible achievements, whereas that's more powerful than, yeah, like you say, anything that we could have said today. So walking away with that, thank you for giving me that today and exploring that.
Well, you're very welcome. what we'll do, we'll dive into the closing traditions.
Sweet.
First one, it's song recommendation.
Are we going niche, or are we just going like any song? And for what occasion? I've got an eclectic taste in music, I think. So
whatever feels alive within you.
The first band that springs to mind is Oasis, because certainly since I've been the Ultimate Geezer, they have been like the soundtrack to my life all throughout uni. Massive Oasis. They have been my whole life, to be honest. I've been a huge Oasis fan since I was a kid. And the first song that springs to mind is Slide Away. You know, technically some people might think it's a bit more of a niche Oasis track. I don't think so. I think it's the best one they do. It's my favourite. And yeah, that would be my recommendation for anyone listening, if you haven't heard it already, but I'm sure most people have.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll put that in the description for anyone who's wants a precise spelling and aren't aware of them. The Manor were quite a big part of your gimmick for a while as well, right?
They were, yeah. They'd done my first few entrance songs. In fact, I've spoken to the lads a couple of times now, and they said they might be able to do me a personalised entrance song. I know they're pretty busy at the minute, because obviously Danny and Dutch have taken up together now, so they're touring and all that, and yeah, good on them. So I'm happy for them. But yeah, I've been using two of their tracks, specifically Wayne Lineker and Calm Down, that they done with Last Skeptic on a lot of my entrances. So that's another part of getting into character. An entrance is a big thing of getting into character, you know, and if you come out to a tune that you like and everyone else feels and embodies that character, it certainly helps. So yeah, check out them two tunes as well.
Yeah, I would definitely resonate with that. And I remember when I was kind of in my geezer era, it was the Manor voice, and it was like, yeah, definitely played an important role. Second one, it's a book recommendation.
A book that I read not so long ago was, what it's called now, but it was another artist that I'm very fond of is 50 Cent. He's right up there for me, and he done a book that was basically about how to command power from people, and the different things that you could do in your life to be more technically powerful going into any room. But all these different skills that he would teach you would help in loads of different facets of life. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Something to do with hustle. That would be my recommendation. Sorry, I can't think of the name right now.
Well, if you don't do a Google search 50 Cent book, I will find it and put it in the description so people can find out what it is.
Yeah, it's a good read.
Third and final one is asked by one of the Growth Voyage listeners, and usually they don't know who the guest is, who they're asking the question for, but seeing as this is the first episode of the new series, this one came in from James, who asked, what keeps you coming back to wrestling when most people would have quit?
I suppose it's that constant belief and goal that I have in my head. I've literally got a picture of me holding the WWE Championship, which some people might think is a bit mad, but you know, that's what it is. And like, that's why if I get these knockbacks like I've had recently, or if I'm not feeling it in the gym, that's why I continue to work, because I feel like anything you put your mind to, you can make it happen if you put in the work. And that seems to be the way that everything's worked out for me so far. So if I continue to do that, that'll be the case. And then, you know, if I just keep that image in my head, and hopefully, obviously I don't know what it feels like yet, but can imagine what it feels like to achieve that goal, then that'll be the thing that keeps me pushing through.
Yeah, that's that kind of end mission, I suppose. And then in between, you kind of figure it out along the way. Improvisation.
That's it.
Wicked. Well, Tommy Tanner, this has been an absolute pleasure to dive in deeper into the layers. I feel like, we got quite a bit out there. So thank you for it being so open, allowing us to delve in. And it'd be great to hear from the man behind the Ultimate Geezer.
Thanks, mate. No, listen, I've really enjoyed it. Being able to explore these things is something you don't normally get to reflect on when you're in such a niche industry. So it's been fun. And thank you for the takeaways that I'm going to have from today. Nice one.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, mate.